April 1945, southern Germany. Cold rain fell across a quiet mountain village where 80 orphaned children slept beneath the roof of a Catholic orphanage. To anyone passing by, the building looked untouched by war. But inside, the orphanage had become a fortress. Heavy radio transmitters buzzed behind the bedroom walls. Thick military cables snaked through the hallways beneath religious paintings. Armed SS guards stood outside children's dormitories with submachine guns hanging from their shoulders. And parked beneath camouflage nets in the courtyard sat black Mercedes staff cars carrying senior Nazi officers. An entire SS regimental headquarters had moved into the orphanage. The children were no longer children, they were shields. The Nazi commander believed the Americans would never attack a building full of orphans. He was wrong. Because somewhere beyond the tree line, 24 American paratroopers were already preparing to enter the building silently and remove every SS officer inside before dawn. This is the story of the night General George S. Patton authorized one of the most dangerous rescue operations of the war. A mission where a single gunshot could have gotten 80 children killed, and where American soldiers walked into a Nazi headquarters, armed mostly with knives. Before we continue, click on the subscribe button. We tell untold World War II stories about impossible decisions, battlefield leadership, and secret missions hidden from history books. Major John Russo was 35 years old, an Italian-American from Newark, New Jersey. Russo had already survived some of the deadliest battlefields in Europe. He jumped into Sicily during the night invasion of 1943, fought through the mountains of Italy, and crawled through the blood-soaked hedgerows of Normandy after D-Day. By 1945, he was no longer shocked by war. But the report sitting on his desk made even him stop cold. A captured orphanage, 80 children trapped inside, 6 Catholic nuns being forced to cook for SS officers, and radio equipment transmitting German artillery coordinates from inside the children's bedrooms. Most commanders would have solved the problem with artillery. Flatten the building, move on. But Russo stared at the intelligence photos for several long seconds before quietly saying, "No shells, no tanks. We go inside." The man inside the orphanage was SS Standartenführer Bernhard Riemer, 47 years old, a veteran Nazi officer whose career stretched from Poland to Russia. Wherever Riemer went, mass executions followed. Villages burned, prisoners disappeared, civilians were shot beside open trenches. He wore expensive, tailored uniforms while Germany collapsed around him. Even now, with the Third Reich falling apart, Riemer remained calm because he believed he had found the perfect defense: children. "The Americans are sentimental," he told his officers over dinner. "They won't fire if children are nearby." The officers laughed. Outside the windows, the rain continued falling across the orphanage courtyard, while 80 terrified children tried to sleep upstairs. Riemer believed those children guaranteed his survival. He had no idea Patton was already reading the intelligence report. The war in Europe was entering its final violent weeks. German defenses were collapsing everywhere. Entire units surrendered by the thousands, while fanatical SS commanders continued fighting from villages, churches, schools, anywhere they could delay the Allied advance. American commanders faced brutal choices every day: destroy enemy positions quickly or risk American lives trying to protect civilians trapped inside combat zones. Usually speed won, artillery solved problems fast, but this situation was different. The orphanage sat in a narrow valley controlling a key road used by advancing American forces. German radio operators inside the building were directing artillery fire across the region. The headquarters had to be eliminated, but shelling the orphanage would kill children, and bypassing it would leave a dangerous SS force operating behind Allied lines. The entire advance stalled until Russo proposed something almost insane. "We infiltrate through the coal chute," he said. Silence filled the farmhouse command post. One officer stared at him in disbelief. "You want 24 men to enter an SS headquarters with children sleeping upstairs?" Russo nodded once. "We take the radios first, then the officers, quietly. And if they detect you, then we die inside the building." Hours later, General George S. Patton arrived personally. His jeep slid through the muddy farmhouse yard before stopping hard beside the command post. The room went silent when Patton entered. Mud covered everyone except him. His uniform looked untouched by war. Ivory-handled revolvers rested against his hips as he studied the map spread across the table. Patton looked directly at Russo. "You think your men can pull this off?" "Yes, sir." "And the children?" "They come out alive." Patton remained silent for several seconds. Then he leaned forward over the map. "Do it." The officers around the table froze. Patton pointed toward the orphanage. "That bastard thinks children make him untouchable." His voice turned cold. "We're going to teach him otherwise." Patton straightened slowly. "No artillery, no tanks, no mistakes. You go into that building quietly, remove every SS officer inside, save every child, and leave that orphanage standing." Then he looked directly into Russo's eyes. "And if Reamer reaches for a weapon, kill him where he stands." At exactly 2 a.m., 24 American paratroopers crawled through wet grass toward the orphanage. Rainwater dripped from their helmets. No one spoke. The men carried silenced pistols, combat knives, and wire cutters. Nothing else. The coal chute waited behind the building like a black hole. One by one, the paratroopers disappeared into the darkness. Inside the basement, the smell of coal dust filled the air. Above them, children slept peacefully. Russo raised 2 fingers. The team moved. The first SS guards died in the kitchen. Neither managed to scream. A nun silently pointed the Americans toward the radio room. The operators were eliminated before they could transmit a warning. Floor by floor, room by room, the Americans advanced through the orphanage. Using knives, suppressed pistols, and raw speed, German officers vanished from their beds before they fully woke up. Doors opened silently. Hands covered mouths. Bodies disappeared into the darkness. And somehow, the children never woke up. Earlier that evening, Sister Maria Augusta had secretly mixed herbal sedatives into the children's tea after Russo smuggled instructions into the orphanage through a local boy. The children slept through the entire raid, even while men died only feet away. Near dawn, Russo reached the chapel. 6 senior SS officers slept beneath a massive crucifix. At the center lay Bernhard Reamer. The Nazi commander opened his eyes to find a combat knife pressed against his throat. A gloved American hand covered his mouth before he could scream, for the first time in years. Bernhard Reamer looked afraid. Within minutes, the orphanage was secure. Not a single child had been harmed, not one room had burned, and not one artillery shell had touched the building. At sunrise, the children woke to the smell of bacon cooking downstairs. American paratroopers stood inside the dining hall, smiling awkwardly while serving breakfast. The SS guards were gone. The war, at least for one night, had passed over the orphanage without destroying it. Many of the children would later say they barely understood what happened. They only remembered waking up and seeing American soldiers handing them food. Major John Russo returned home after the war and later helped pioneer early SWAT tactics and hostage rescue doctrine in the United States. The lessons from that orphanage raid followed him for the rest of his life. Bernhard Reamer faced trial for crimes against humanity after the war. Evidence connected him to hundreds of civilian executions across Eastern Europe. In 1947, he was executed, unrepentant to the very end. Patton rarely discussed the mission publicly. But years later, one line from a private letter survived. Sometimes the greatest victories are the battles where nothing is destroyed. Even today, historians still debate whether Patton's decision was brilliance or recklessness. He risked elite paratroopers inside a fortified SS headquarters when artillery could have ended the situation in minutes. But 80 children survived because precision replaced destruction. And in the final weeks of World War II, that difference meant everything. So what would you have done? Would you have risked your men to save the children or destroyed the orphanage to guarantee victory? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy untold World War II stories about impossible decisions, battlefield leadership, and secret missions hidden from history books, make sure to subscribe.